we are, We Three Queens. I'm Micheline.
And I'm Aching.
And we're so happy to be in this new season. And I know you only see two of us, but in parallel, we do have that Find a New Queen kind of campaign running. And I know that some of you have already submitted, I think, hope, and others will begin to submit your entries for looking for a third queen. Man or woman, and we've given the information about just how fabulous, eloquent, interesting, African sort of optimistic, and all those qualities that we would love you to have to be able to join us.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But you see, the show must go on. And so we continue these amazing conversations that we know you find useful, and a lot of you give us feedback about just, how much value they bring to you. And Acheng, this one is, well, first of all, I do want to focus on this DM that we just got, but I have to say, listen, darling, and you know what's coming, right? You look so good.
Let me even arrange
you look
myself
so
for
good.
the moment
Arrange
when you
away. What I love is that we're kind of twinning, because this is Saraya.
Saraya, the
Saraya
brand
is an incredible global brand.
Yes.
It was on Vogue UK, I believe, a month or two ago. Did a fashion show in Paris recently, and really is a Pan-African brand by Safi. Hey Safi, I know you watch. And she just weaves some really nice kind of artisanal West African, typically Senegalese fabric with a more contemporary like Ankara and other types of fabric, and just makes these avant-garde pieces. And so as I'm saying you're looking good, I'm also just feeling amazing in Saraya.
Totally.
And true to African fashion, I spot Irene.
This is Irene from Credible Jewels, Kenyan designer, jewelry designer. She uses all sorts of pearls of all colors from different parts of the world, predominantly Asia, and then of course gold as well. So she is amazing, and this is a gift from Mish for my birthday. Thank you, my love.
It is, and so I love it so much that I am gonna have one just like this. So we're gonna have to twin with that as well.
Yeah, and then I just have to give a shout out to Kauri, young Kenyan designer.
Oh, is that who does these with the Kauri shell?
And he does. The theme is always about the shell. So you can see my ring. Okay, I'm gonna just put it on this finger so you can see it, because my nail kind of chipped and
Well, nobody noticed that. You didn't have to tell the world. But anyway, she's always fabulous with her nails.
So this is Kauri.
It's great.
These nails are fine. This hand is fine.
I love the Kauri shell on that.
And my earrings as well. So he does an amazing job. So please reach out to him. Get yourself some Kauri merch and Kauri jewelry and Kauri everything, because he's amazing. They don't pay us to say this, by the way, but we really do believe in supporting African.
Absolutely.
All beautiful, fabulous things African. And so we wanted to just shout them all out.
Amazing. And we could do a whole show on African design, African fashion. We just, I believe it's been having a moment in at least the last, I'd say, 7 years from my perspective.
Yeah.
And to all the creatives out there, just keep pushing, because we know it ain't easy. But we really do just appreciate the glory that's coming out of the continent. Anyway, fabulous fashion aside, I did want to get to a really serious topic. So we asked some of you actually to send us things we should talk about. And this one woman, I'm going to call her Jane. Just, for confidentiality purposes. She talks about this aunt that seems to be bullying her.
Yeah.
Every time she says something, I think Jane describes a moment in which, she was trying to, I think it was even during a funeral or something, she was trying to tell people where to go, where to sit, the protocol when you're doing, grieving ceremony in someone's home. And her aunt was like, what do you mean? Say that again.
What you're saying.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she describes this as happening just all the time. Like this is what her aunt does.
Yeah.
And was seeking advice from us. One intriguing thing is she did say that she can manage it when other people in her life shout at her, are mean to her, bully her, and the like. But there's just this thing about this aunt. In fact, she's also asking, because I'm using the word bully, but Jane is just asking, in a way, is this bullying?
And how
can she handle this?
Yeah.
And so I thought we could talk about that, use that as an example, but talk about bullying in general.
Absolutely.
You know, so what do you think? How would you
So
address
this
it?
is-
How does this
yeah.
pop up for you?
This is a really big one. You know what? First of all the mean people out there, just stop it, okay?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
sit down for a minute.
Thank you.
You know?
Right?
I feel really strongly about this because the world is a hard enough place as it is. And the last thing we need is a mean, whether it's a business partner or friend or relative or colleague. You know, being mean is a reflection of your own issues.
Absolutely.
But the
Can you
problem
say
is,
that again?
being mean is a reflection of your own issues. And the problem
This
is
important.
that when you don't have self-awareness, you just you fob it off on other people and make them feel bad. And so net, you're just not making the world a better place.
Right.
And you need to you need to think about your actions, think about your words, think about how you behave and treat people. Would you be okay to be treated like that?
That's the thing. But you know what? I like the way you've started to tackle it in terms of the aggressor, if you will, the bully. You know, because of course we have a lot of advice for people who've been bullying, the bullyee, and you know, we've been bullied in different ways.
Absolutely.
But like, just even for the person, like if I'm being bullied, to remember that it's not me, right, who is insert horrible adjective here. You know what I mean? Like if the person says I'm this, I'm that, yeah. It's actually
them.
Yeah, it's the bully.
absolutely.
It's that person who has the issues. I think that is such a good first step, even trying to just contextualize and understand what's happening here.
Yeah.
You know, but easier said than done, right? Because in the moment you're just there feeling like you're just feeling so hurt and like, woe is me.
Yeah,
and,
you want to just go under the duvet and cover your head and make it all go away or hope it'll all go away. But the truth is, honestly, it is bullying.
Yeah.
Bullies will keep doing it. And the more they see that they can,
yes,
the more they do. And so the bottom line is that a bully has to be confronted or they will never stop. And so maybe we can talk about what are some of those 2 or 3 things that you need to do to confront the bully.
Oh my God. So do you think Jane, let's take Jane and then maybe like use our own or other examples. Do you think Jane should be confronting Auntie?
Hell yes.
Yeah? Jane's about 26, 27.
Yes.
Yeah.
Auntie,
she's an adult.
Auntie is being the horrible, mean relative, the bully.
Yes.
She did it once and then got away with it and did it twice. And now she's made it a life thing. And she's traumatizing poor Jane. She probably knows she's doing it, but she keeps doing it anyway.
Know, I've just remembered another fact as we focus on Jane.
Yeah.
Jane says that her mom told this auntie to kind of mentor her, to mentor Jane.
Yeah.
So that's probably just another variable to add in the mix as to how that relationship has been built.
I'm going to say something very controversial.
Please do.
Her mom probably told her to mentor Jane when Jane was little. And then Jane has blossomed probably into this gorgeous, beautiful, eloquent, stunning woman.
Yes.
As Auntie has been aging. And I say that with all due respect. I'm also getting older. So I have nothing against getting older.
Right.
We're lucky to be
aging.
alive. There are people who never got to see the ages that some of us are seeing. So I don't say that in any disrespectful way. But I do recognize and want to call out that sometimes a dynamic happens. Because the little kid is becoming a beautiful, sexy, or stunning, intelligent woman.
Yeah.
And the relative who was supposed to be mentoring and telling you what to do is getting older, no longer her youthful self, possibly. And so the mentorship has evolved into now trying to put you down.
Interesting.
And I'm willing to bet money that that's exactly what's going on. And so because Jane can't change who she is.
Right.
She is who she is.
Right.
However, beauty, everybody's beautiful in their own right.
Yep.
And in their own way. So that's not going to change. So Jane sitting and waiting and hoping that Auntie is going to see that she's being mean, that's not going to happen. Jane has to nip it in the bud.
That. She really does. And you know what's interesting is Jane is asking us and asking herself, right? Is this bullying? Let me tell you something. The minute you have to ask yourself if a certain feeling is that certain negative feeling. Yes, it is. It is. It's a valid, it is the purest, that first gut sense, the first nose, the first
this doesn't feel
sniff.
right
And
feeling.
yeah, and so looks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, is a duck. And I do not question that. So I think that's the first step, right? And I think sometimes it's because it's so, maybe it's done with such finesse, if bullying can be done with such finesse, such ease.
Yes.
And maybe just even such ubiquity. It sounds like this aunt is just constantly, this is her MO.
Yeah.
She always says demeaning, negative, things to Jane. So it's definitely bullying.
Yeah.
So that's to be acknowledged. And then I love it. Nip it in the bud. So like what? She should just be like, hey, auntie, what? Stop doing it or else. How could that conversation go, I wonder?
If you imagine a scenario where the aunt, sort of says something and looks down at her, she can literally say, first of all, don't raise your voice when you're speaking to me. I'm not going to accept that. Or that is uncalled for. Do not raise your voice. When you're ready to speak to me in a normal way, call me and walk away. That will be a shock for dear old auntie.
Oh my God, you know what? Sorry, please.
No, already I'm in the scenario. Jane, I wish I could just be you for a minute.
Okay, I'm auntie.
What were you going to say though?
No, please. Just say that one more time so that it hits home.
Yeah. You have to confront it. And you use the moment when it's happening to confront. Because if you talk about it when it's not happening, like just sort of say, auntie, I want to talk to you.
Yes.
It's not going to land. She's already a bully. She's already unaware, unself-aware. So, and she will twist what you say because that's her MO from the sound of it.
I absolutely agree. And the reason why I was like, interrupting is I did that same thing. So, Jane, you're one of many.
Absolutely.
Right? And I've been bullied once at work. And, I think first I was in a just slight shock because I was already senior.
Yeah.
There's this person who's, my level. Because, sometimes hierarchy does play a role in corporate. This is in corporate politics. So you have this person who was my level, maybe more senior because he was older and had been in the company for longer. So maybe he was considered senior, but grade to grade, we were the same. Anywho, I can't remember. He was all of a sudden started shouting at me and asking about completion of a certain project that wasn't even in his docket. Yeah. I was just sitting there completely stunned. And I said exactly what you just said because his voice was rising. And I said to him, he's like, well, where is it? And what do you mean you haven't done it? And what's happening with your department? And I do not understand. And I just looked at him and part of it again, I was stunned, I was shocked, I was frozen. And I said, you know what? And I picked up my bits, how you have your little folder, your phone, your pen. And I said, Mr. So-and-so, when you're ready to talk to me in a respectful voice, in a calm voice, you can arrange to have a meeting with me. Don't understand what you're saying right now. And I'm just not able to digest any information in that tone. And so just let me know when you're ready. And that was it. I don't even think, in all those years in that job, I think I saw him in group sessions. A, he didn't follow up for that one thing.
Of course he didn't.
It wasn't
even confronted him as a bully.
And it wasn't even any of his business.
Yeah.
And B, I think he just knew he could not play with me again.
Ever.
But that's my MO is I'm generally calm. Even if you guys see me here just like, wow. Generally, I'm actually a calm person.
Yeah.
And I'm even calmer in situations of duress. And this was one of them. And that's a good tool. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I've done that. Don't mess with me again.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to confront it. You did it because you made it very clear. And you did it in a moment when it was happening. And so back to the point I was making, if you had let that moment pass and then go back to him after the fact, you'd have missed the moment because it's a power balance. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And easier for me to say this. In my example, I was of equal power as the guy. And I knew that.
Yeah. And the thing is, Jane is because she's grown up. She's not the little kid.
That's right. Jane is 26, 27.
Let's say, yeah.
But how about if it's like, forget about Jane, forget about me. Let's just say, I don't know, Kwame. Kwame is a 24-year-old, making this up, analyst in a workplace. And the senior partner now comes and bullies him. like, because now we're realizing that hierarchy plays.
It does indeed.
So that's really quite hard. I think I'm just quickly thinking through this hypothetical case because I know it happens when you're junior in a role. I would maybe ask for like, who are some allies in the workplace that you can speak to about this bullying?
Absolutely.
That can help you navigate that, because there'll be other people perhaps who've been bullied, but there'll also be other people, like the person I am today in the workplace, other people who are ready to stand up for you.
Absolutely.
What
in fact,
else?
I like what you've said. Because on one hand, you have the formal structures and processes like HR or an anonymous whatever, where you can file a complaint, but not all organizations have that. If you have it, that's something you can use. But I like what you've said, which is about finding an ally. If you're going through it, guys, you can be sure somebody else, not more than one,
that's right,
is going through it.
That's the thing.
There's power in multiple voices. First of all, find somebody who can hear you out and who can possibly help fight for you if you're too junior to fight the person, because maybe they're a senior bully. But also, if you're many people at the same level, or if you find one or two other people,
right,
suddenly it's not just hearsay. This senior person can't say, no, they've made that up. Because suddenly you're more than one.
Exactly.
And there is power in numbers. Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah. I think, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And when you mention HR, that is definitely one too. I mean, that department is built for something. Yes. But I remember in one of our other shows about something similar going on in the workplace, one of the comments on TikTok is that, HR also supports the company. And so I like the allies method.
Yes.
Just in case your HR is not willing to stick their neck out for you, because, sorry, HR, and I know there are many out there, but you know that sometimes you just can't do anything because the power imbalance also affects you. Like, you cannot stop that big bad bully because he's the VP or she's the founder, and so you're too busy following rules that sometimes I know that other employees find it a bit inadequate because you're a stickler for the rules. So that's why I like going to HR for sure and see. But if you're finding that it can't budge, I really like the idea of the other allies as well.
Absolutely. But having said that, I think by the time you're in that seat as HR, your job is about the human resources. And you have a responsibility. And yes, it may come with some risks depending on the organization and where the bullying is happening. But honestly, are you just going to sit there, or are you going to make a difference? What's your legacy? What's your role? Why did you even get into that sort of career line?
I like that. Actually,
sometimes when you're a leader, leading
yes.
isn't easy. Leading isn't like sitting there and, sipping a daiquiri at the beach.
Yeah.
Leading it's work. It's hard work. And you have a responsibility. And what's your legacy? If you sit there and do nothing, imagine you'll be that HR person who just sat and warmed the seat, or you can literally make a difference.
I love it.
And that it follows you,
It does.
Leading with integrity, with authenticity, and applying yourself and your expertise, that counts for something.
Exactly.
You're not there by accident.
And actually just sticking out your neck when you know
absolutely
that, what you're doing, what you're standing for, and so on, upholds values.
Yes.
Values of the organization.
I love that.
Because they're always written somewhere, respect, I don't know what,
Mm-hmm.
equality, or your own intrinsic values. Often it hurts a bit. So I think that's a nice reminder, right, that there are those resources in the workplace.
Absolutely.
Now, bullying. I would say, I know we've talked a lot and we might maybe just wrap up, but have you been bullied? Like, just at any point? You've been bullied as a child, I think.
I was bullied when I was 12.
The tiny, scrawny 12-year-old.
I was so skinny and tiny and scrawny. I looked so bullyable, I think.
No, but what do you mean? Nobody should be bullied.
But that's exactly my point. But then bullies will bully, And I remember years later, this bully looked for me to be my friend on Facebook back in the day when we were all really Facebooking. Now we're TikToking, but anyway.
I love it.
And I was like, no.
Yeah, this thing
which is weird, considering
life.
that I was like already so much older, decades older. But I didn't want to connect with this person because for me, the 12-year-old in me was still injured. Now I stand up to myself when I'm bullied. And I've been bullied, of course, as an adult as well. And of course, I took action, and which is
Yeah.
why we're sharing kind of our experiences, because they don't come from a theoretical space. They come from what
Exactly.
we've genuinely experienced.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what about
So,
you, Mish? Have you ever been bullied?
You know what? Yes. And the thing is, I don't even have a very vivid memory of the bully. You know, I am like just under 6 foot today. I forget in meters and centimeters what's that, over a meter 80. And I guess from, I would say 14, I was very tall. And so my general memory, you know, reminds me that there were people in school, this would have been primary school, who were like, oh, tally. There's one professor that said something, teacher, when I was 9 or 10, okay, relatively tall, 9, 10, 11, who was like, something like long neck, stop talking. You know,
That's so
yes,
mean.
it's so mean. It is so mean. And I just think the redeeming quality is that after about 15, 16, it was like kind of cool. You know, like I'm a 90s girl. And so those are the days of like there are only 5 models in the world. And then the rest of you, you know, are tall but modelly. So there was this thing that was followed since, which is like, oh, you know, you're so you know, you're like a model. So so then tall stopped being a bad thing.
Yes.
You know, but I know that in that moment of being 9, 10, 11, it must have hurt. It always felt like, because I was head and shoulders above everyone. I was always at the end of the line of the queue. But I guess that redeeming quality has completely, you know, like erased those memories. Interestingly, oh my goodness, this just came up in my mind. This friend said to me that her daughter is dark skinned like me, and is, I think, at about 14, maybe a bit younger, and is being bullied slightly. So I have to follow up on that, because I was so surprised. I was like, is bullying for that? You know,
there is
in Africa, in Kenya.
You know,
like, how are you going to bully somebody whose skin tone is pretty much 75 to 90% of the population?
Absolutely,
I just don't get it.
You know what? People have to also stop bullying you just because, or bullying anyone because you look a certain way.
Yes.
It can be the skin tone, it can be the height or the long legs. It can be that you're a girl and you have short hair.
Yes.
It can be that you have big eyes. I remember I used to be called also, not names, but it was kind of sleepy eyes, sexy eyes.
Oh,
eyes.
That doesn't sound.
No, but when you were a kid, the word sexy was kind of
They'd use that to you. I was called dreamy eyes, because we both have like these big eyes.
Yeah.
And I was called that maybe from 16.
Yeah. And now we're good.
As a child, they said
as a
sexy
child,
eyes.
You couldn't. I remember.
Which neighborhood were you in?
I was always told things about my eyes, but I didn't know how to. I think I took them as I'm being bullied.
Okay.
Because there were words that were not used when we were kids, like sexy eyes was like.
I'm still I'm actually still sitting here in disbelief that people use those big grown-up words.
Yeah. I remember my daughter, who is quite fair-skinned, when she was little, playing with the neighborhood kids, because we lived in a complex of maisonettes at the time, and the kids had given her a name that's the Swahili translation for white. They was calling her Mzungu, and she came home running, crying, because she didn't know what the word meant.
Yes.
So she assumed she's being teased because they were all saying Mzungu, Mzungu.
Yes.
Which for her was like, oh, they're calling me a name.
Yeah.
You know?
So sometimes,
people pick on something about you that may stand out or may be different from everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's mean.
And that's just being mean again.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, there's the big bullying that we've talked about.
Yeah.
People really treating you meanly, using, you know, demeaning words at work, you know, Jane's aunt and the like. And then there are also like these these other words people use. They may not mean to be so mean, but they know that those words will hurt as well. And all of that is in the category of bullying. And I think, you know, to your previous points, the fact that the scars remain.
The scars do remain.
The fact that this person tried to reach out to you, you know, 15 years ago, whenever people on Facebook.
Yeah.
And and you were like, no.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally not interested.
Which actually reminds me of Boys' Dorm, which might need its own show. But I have to say, the boys in boarding school, honestly, they're like 40, some of them 50 now. To this day, I ask them, hey, when at that age they were 13, 14, 15, and I remember the bully. There were like three main bullies, but I remember one of them. And these boys, young men, still remember the bully. You know,
Imagine
they still
that.
remember, and I still remember the boy dorm bully.
Yeah.
And if I see him today, and I just might, I'll just be like, how has that impacted you? Do you know what I mean? 30 years on,
do you know what
your
you
peers
did?
still remember you?
And not in a positive way.
Yeah, like, boys, and I know some of it is physical and it's part of growing up, but that's, I don't know, maybe just I'm a girl's girl. That's one thing I will never understand, is that the extent to which it's happening. It happens a lot in boys' dorms. I'm not sure about all schools, all nations, all whatever cultures, but for sure in this very British-inspired boarding school. And the scars remain for the person who's been bullied. But I just wonder now aloud about the bullies. Bullies, how are you today? How are you feeling? How have you redeemed your bullying self? And what would you have to say? Because I'm sure some of you have come around 180 degrees and might be able to write something about, why did you do it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And of course, we could go on this like forever and ever.
We could,
but we'd love to hear from you guys, whether it's guys and girls. Whether you were bullied, what was it, or how did you confront it? If you were a bully, what are your thoughts now? Some people maybe never redeem themselves and stay bullies for life.
Absolutely.
But and we know that because just the world is what it is. But in the end, bullying hurts people and the scars remain. So for anyone who's watching, who knows a bully, share this vid with them so they can have some serious food for thought. And in the meantime, share with us your comments. We'd love to hear more.
And if you're being bullied, I do hope that some of these tips, particularly just being able to confront the bully in the moment and just show them that you are having none of it. We hope that this helps, that if you still feel like you could use more or just share more, please go ahead and do that, because this is actually, it's obviously very serious, but as I try and remember being bullied, as I remember other people's bullying stories, I think both of us are like sort of, what's the word? We're sort of just peeling the onion, and there's so many layers that are quite difficult to very quickly sort of guide or advise. So
on that note, guys, share your thoughts and comments. And Jane, our hearts go out to you. We hope that this helps. Please make sure that your aunt sees this, or send it to a relative who sends it to her or something. If nothing else, to just bring it to her consciousness that she's a mean auntie and she needs to stop it. And we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
So please do subscribe. And thank you for sharing all your feedback and thoughts and input on what you want to talk about. And we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Ciao, ciao.